In a world of rat and ruin, dear, you're my shelter in the glow. With your Pip-Boy on your wrist.
Welcome back to the Dusty Signal, my little devils. Find a comfy seat, grab something to munch on, and settle in. I've got another recording from our boy Nate Campbell to share with you. Now, I want to ask you something before we get into it. You ever watch somebody change? Watch them become a different person? Now, I'm not talking about a physical change, like a werewolf with a machine gun. No, I mean, when they don't even know it's happening yet. An internal change, and not dramatic. Not some big moment where they look in a mirror and decide to be a different person. Just a slow shift. Gradual, subtle, inevitable, and completely invisible to the person doing it. Those are the most interesting people to watch, sugar. The ones who are changing, not because they want to, but because the world wants them to. That's the difference, sugar. The world decides they're needed, and that's all there is to it. They start becoming that thing the world needs. We've been listening to these tapes for a while now. 12 days of Nate Campbell talking to a Pip-Boy recorder in the dark. And I want to tell you something I've noticed. Something I think's important. He came out of that vault a soldier, mission-focused, tactical. A man who processes the world through threat assessment and inventory counts and after-action reviews. Make no mistake, honey. That man is still there. Don't misunderstand me here. But something else is showing up too. Quietly. In the small moments. A man starting to notice the world around him instead of just moving through it, reacting to it. That's not nothing, sugar. In this wasteland, that's everything. Tape 13 is now rolling.
Log 013, November 4th, 2287. Third night at the Dugout Inn, room 2. Vadim and Yefim are two brothers that run this joint. They were at the bar when I came in tonight. Yefim called me his #1 customer, and Vadim told me they were going to put a plaque above the door in my honor. They both laughed, loudly. That was unexpected, that little moment. Two brothers running a bar in a baseball stadium at the end of the world, and they took the time to make a stranger feel like a regular. People are building lives out here, real ones, and that's worth noting. I had a shot of whiskey at the bar. One. I'm not drowning my sorrows or anything. It's been that kind of day, and my brain needed something to take the edge off before bed. A man who can't sleep is a man who can't function, and I need to function tomorrow. Dog meat is on the bed, asleep. I didn't invite him there. He just made that decision independently and with considerable confidence. I've decided not to press the issue. I'd imagine it wouldn't matter if I did anyways. I'll run through the day. I woke up early and ate some Instamash and the last of my mole rat chunks. Washed it all down with a Nuka-Cola. Breakfast of champions. Left here at 0600 and went straight to Valentine's agency first. Nick and Ellie were both there already. Does she live there? I filed that away for another time. I gave them the details on the asshole that killed Nora and took Sean, everything I knew. Nick confirmed the name, said that sounded like a man named Conrad Kellogg, and that he used to live in Diamond City. Said he had a kid with him. My heart skipped a beat at the mention of him having a kid with him. Nick noticed and clarified. A boy, around 10 years old. Couldn't be Sean then. I felt my heart sink. Nick must have noticed my shift. He just looked at me for a brief moment, then said we should check out Kellogg's old house here in town. Nick said he was a very bad man. A very dangerous man. Again, he gave me a look. I didn't need a college degree to understand what that look meant. We left his office and headed to Kellogg's old home. It was a unit near the western wall of the stadium, kind of all by itself, which struck me as a little odd. There was limited space in this old stadium for houses. Why allow one to be by itself? When we arrived at the home, it was locked. Nick said he would stand guard if I wanted to try and pick the lock. We both gave it a shot, but neither could get the door open. He suggested I go talk to the mayor and see if he'd give me the key. I'll be honest here, I could have picked that lock, but I didn't. I wanted to see what skill Nick had. I'm not sure I can trust him after the way I treated him yesterday. As I was walking up to see the mayor, it occurred to me that he may have done the same thing in order to get me to talk with the mayor. He saw me yesterday as a battering ram, a single-minded killer. Maybe he was testing me as well. It's exactly what I would have done. I smiled. I think I'll like Nick. Mayor McDonough was predictably useless. Everything about that man is performance. I didn't waste time on him. His secretary was a different story. I asked for the key, and she said she couldn't hand out keys to someone who didn't own the house. I told her I understood, but asked her to find it in her heart to help me. I laid out my story, briefly but honestly. She read the situation. I think she could see what I was carrying in my face, and she made a quiet decision. Stepped away from her desk, and the key was just sitting there. It would be gone when she got back. She didn't have to do that. She did it anyway. In a city that watched two brothers die in a market and just kept going, like that was a normal thing. That matters. Good people are always around. Kellogg's house. Nick and I went through it top to bottom. Nothing on the surface. A bed, a sleeping bag, a desk, and some junk. But the dimensions were wrong. The place looked smaller inside than it should. We kept searching. I found a switch under the desk, hidden room behind it. A torture room from the look of it. Whatever Kellogg was, he wasn't hiding that from himself. That told me a lot about the kind of man he is. There were cigars there, unique brand, nothing else like them in Diamond City. There were enough of them there to suggest Kellogg liked this brand. Nick said a dog with a good nose could track that scent anywhere in the Commonwealth. I knew exactly which dog. I told Nick I'd be back, that I knew just the dog for this, but would have to go get him. He said he'd wait for me at his office. Before I left, I grabbed what I felt may be useful from Kellogg's house. There wasn't much, but in the secret torture room, there were some 44 rounds, 2 Nuka-Cola Quantums, and 3 Nuka Cherries. I left Diamond City on foot, heading northwest, back to Dogmeat. The walk to Sanctuary Hills is about 2.5 hours at a sustained tactical pace. I made it there without much fuss. Had a few wild mongrels and a mole rat nest to deal with, but they were hardly worth mentioning. Arrived at Sanctuary a little past 1100. Preston was waiting. He had another settlement that needed help, raiders, same pattern as Ten Pines. I told him no. He just stared blankly at me. I repeated the word, no. Not yet, not right now. I told him about Ten Pines. The settlers are connected with the Minutemen now. It's started. That's real progress, and he should build on it. I have a feeling he'll wait for me to do the building, though. He pushed on the Minutemen, what they could be, what my involvement could mean for the Commonwealth. I heard him, I respect him, and I told him plainly, I have a son to find, and a killer to hunt. The Minutemen will have to wait. He didn't argue. Good man. Dogmeat was in the yard when I came over the bridge. If I needed any reminder of why I made that walk, the way that dog moved when he saw me was it. No complications, no history, just there, ready. We walked back together, 2.5 hours. Actually, it was longer. I had a lot on my mind. I've been going since I thawed out, 12 days. One thing after another. Raiders, a Deathclaw, Vault 114, the tunnel, Ramirez, Nick. No real pause between any of it. No debrief. No time to just think things through. no psych eval, no team to process it with, to plan with, to mourn with. Pre-war, after an operation, we had a process, a real one. Sit down with people trained to help you put it somewhere, make sense of what happened, file it correctly so it doesn't eat you from the inside. I never thought much of those sessions at the time. I would give almost anything for one of those sessions right now. But I didn't have that as an option. What I had instead was a road, a dog, and time. I used it to my full advantage. Dogmeat walked beside me the whole way back from Sanctuary. Just there. No judgment, no agenda, no questions I couldn't answer. I talked to him, more than I've talked to anyone since I thawed out. Not about tactics, not about the mission. Just talked. About Nora, about Sean, about Ramirez and what I did in that tunnel. About Nick and how I treated him. About the settlements and Preston and what the Minutemen are trying to build out here. About whether the man I've been for the past 12 days is the man I actually am, or just what the wasteland has made of me so far. About what kind of man I was going to be. He listened. He didn't cast judgment, he just listened. He also ate something off the road that I can only describe as concerning. But he listened. That walk was my debrief, the only one available to me out here. And as debriefs go, it was as good as they get. I felt lighter somehow, like a weight was lifted. I know what I did in that tunnel, how I treated Nick, what I became. I've said it. I'm not proud of my actions. I also can't undo them, and I'm not going to spend the rest of this mission bleeding from those decisions. I know what it cost, and I know what better looks like. I'm not there yet, but I'm walking towards it. That has to be enough for now. We made it back to Diamond City by 1600 and stopped by the market to resupply for tomorrow. Sold off some extra gear and stocked up properly for the next phase of this mission. Bought ammo, food, medicine, and water. Current inventory. Combat shotgun with 35 shells. 10mm now with 68 rounds. Laser musket with 20 fusion cells. I also bought 6 .308 rounds, should I find a proper sniper rifle. I only have 19 .38 rounds for the pipe rifle, so I will be selective with those. I have my combat knife affixed to my belt for easy retrieval, if needed as well. I bought some more Rad-X, Radaway, stim packs, and some more food and water. Weapons maintenance was performed at the work table this time to ensure exceptional performance. Everything is now clean, oiled, and ready. Dog meat got a cut of meat from Polly at Choice Chops. I grabbed a steak for myself. I stopped by on the way back to the Dugout Inn. I wanted to pay for the room for a few days in advance. Wasn't sure when, or if, I would make it back, but having a place to stay was important, and I wasn't about to stay in Kellogg's old place. Yefim was beaming when I paid him the caps. I prepaid for 4 nights, just in case. A ghoul approached me while I was at the bar, said his name was Edward Deegan, and that he had a dangerous job. Something right up my alley, according to him, and wanted to talk to me about it. I told him I didn't have time right now. He said to look him up at the Cabot House when I was ready, and marked it on my map. I filed it. Whatever that is, it can wait. Tomorrow morning, Nick and I take dog meat to Kellogg's house. The cigars are waiting in that secret room. The scent is still there. Dog meat will pick it up, and we'll follow it wherever it goes. Kellogg is at the end of that trail, somewhere. And Sean, or answers about Sean. I've been chasing a nameless man for 12 days. A face I only know from a cryo chamber. A man who shot my wife and took my son and walked away thinking he left nothing dangerous behind him. Now, I have a name for that face. I have a plan to find him. And if Nick thinks I am ruthless now, he hasn't seen anything yet. Tomorrow, everything changes. Whatever's left of my soul can feel it. Dog meat just shifted on the bed, took up approximately 70% of the available surface area. I'm going to need the other 30% in about 10 minutes, so I'm wrapping this up. Third night at the Dugout Inn. Room 2, dog on the bed, clean weapons, full ammo, a trail that starts at first light. That's enough for now. I'm getting a full night's sleep. Tomorrow, we go hunting. This is Staff Sergeant Nathaniel Campbell. Out.
A road, a dog, and time. That's what he had. And he used every bit of it. I want to start with something not so small. Something you may have skipped over, may have dismissed. The locked door. Neither of them could get it open. Or could they have? Nick suggested the mayor. And Nate, a man who has picked locks, disarmed traps, and navigated a vault full of armed triggermen without breaking stride, walked away from that locked door. A locked door that probably held clues to his stolen son. And he walked away. Because he wanted to see what Nick would do. And then, on the way to the mayor's office, it hit him. Nick might have done the exact same thing. May have tested him right back. Two people who don't trust each other yet. Both pretending they can't do something they absolutely can. Just to find out who the other one really is. He smiled. Sugar. Nate Campbell smiled. I don't know if you caught the weight of that. After everything that's happened in that tunnel, after Ramirez, after the way he treated Nick on the way out, after 2 days of carrying all of that, he smiled because he recognized something in Nick Valentine that he respects. Something he knows all too well about himself. That's not a small thing, Sugar. That's a man finding his way back to himself, one step at a time. Now, the boy. Nick mentioned Kellogg had a kid with him. No. I can only imagine how hard that statement hit Nate. It hit me pretty hard, and I don't even like children. But hearing the man that took his son had a boy with him? Only to have the excitement stolen away when he was told the kid was around 10 years old. That had to be a hell of an emotional ride. I don't have those motherly instincts women are always going on about. In my experience, most children grow up to be assholes. But that don't mean old Dusty can't feel something, or recognize when someone else does. And Sugar, Nate felt that one hard. But he didn't break, didn't cry, didn't lash out. He just filed it away and took the next step. That's discipline, my little devils. Let's talk about something that's been sitting with me since I first heard this tape. Nate Campbell is one of the most dangerous people I've ever heard of. And I've encountered some truly dangerous people in my time. He's efficient, precise, completely without hesitation when the situation demands it. He walked into a vault full of armed men and cleared it. He killed Malone and his people where they stood without a second thought. He waited for a behemoth to go back in the water, then kept moving like that was just a thing that happens on a Tuesday. In this wasteland, people like that usually end up one of two ways. They either become raiders, taking what they want because they can, living without rules, without remorse, like nothing can stop them. The violence becomes the point. The capability becomes the identity. Or they become something else entirely, something rarer, something the wasteland doesn't quite know what to do with. A person who can do terrible things and still feel the weight of them. Nate Campbell told his dog about Ramirez on a broken road because he needed to tell someone, and his dog was what he had. He processed his guilt over Nick Valentine out loud to an animal who couldn't judge him. He noticed a secretary stepping away from her desk and called it courage. He watched two brothers make a stranger feel like a regular and called it worth noting. This is the same man who cleared Vault 114 with extreme violence of action and without remorse. Both of those things are true, simultaneously, in the same chest. I know a little something about that. I'm not going to say more than I should tonight, but I will say this. There are people in this wasteland who made themselves hard because hardness was the only thing that kept them alive, who did things they will never speak aloud to anyone, who carries weight that has no container and no release and no debrief and no dog to listen on a broken road. And the question those people live with, the one that doesn't go away no matter how many miles they put between themselves and the thing they did, is whether the hardness will define them, whether what you have done is who you are. Nate talked to a dog about it for 3.5 hours and came back lighter. He's learned ways to let things go and to move with decisions and not because of them. I've never heard anyone speak about this before. The wasteland. Well, the world is unforgiving and makes you do hard things. We've all done things to survive that we're not proud of. No judgment here, sugar. But to give those moments time, to give them recognition, and then just let them go, that is something your gal Dusty needs to try. But I'll be honest here. I'm not sure who I would be after. And that scares me more than anything. Maybe someday. Listen, the world needs humanity, sugar, even when it doesn't deserve it. Maybe, well, especially then. Nate drew a line today, told Preston no, not because he doesn't care about the Commonwealth or the people in it, but because he knows what his mission is, and he knows what it costs to lose focus on it. That's not coldness, that's discipline. There's a difference. And the fact that he feels the pull, that he hears Preston and respects him and still says no, that's the moral compass doing its job. Most people out here have lost that compass entirely. The wasteland has a way of taking it from you if you're not careful, trading it for survival, one small decision at a time, until one day you look up and you don't recognize yourself anymore. Nate Campbell is 12 days out of a cryopod, and his compass is still pointing true. I find that remarkable. I find that worth broadcasting. Third night at the Dugout Inn, room 2. Dog meat on the bed. Not asking, neither. Tomorrow the trail starts. Kellogg is at the end of it somewhere. And whatever's left of Nate Campbell's soul is ready. Now, before I forget, thank you. Thank you for tuning in to The Signal. Thank you for writing in and telling me your stories. Thank you for taking some time out of your daily survival to listen to your old gal Dusty ramble on a bit on these old airwaves. I really appreciate it. Until next time, keep your weapons clean and your belly full. Stay close to the signal, sugar. Stay alive. Stay strange. Dusty, out.
Stay close, my vault dweller. Don't roam too far from me. With you I build out paradise beneath the desert sea. Oh my Calvin, you make my heart far away.
This is Garrett Klein, the one-man creative force behind the Dusty Signal podcast and the solo creator for Classic Me Studio. The Dusty Signal is a fan fiction audio drama that's set in the Fallout 4 universe. Fallout and all related properties are owned by Bethesda Game Studios and no copyright infringement is intended. This is and always will be a free, non-commercial production. Created, written, and produced by Garrett Klein for Classic Me Studio. Voices were created using 11 Labs AI voice technology. Original song, Vaulted Heart, was created using 11 Labs music generation software. Sound design from Audio Hero, 11 Labs, and My Imagination. genuinely thank you for listening, and I hope you're enjoying it.